Serious, what is a conspiracy theory you actually believe in? Everyone's going heavy with this, but I have one that's less serious. Baby wipe containers are purposely made so that you always pull 2 to 3 wipes out at a time, and therefore need to buy more often. It's definitely something I can see Big Wipe engaging in, to get just a few more containers out of us each year. That the government creates, or at least promotes, crazy conspiracy theories to make the true ones seem crazy by association. For the record, serious answer. But there's this soup place at our local mall that's been there for 3 years now. I've never seen anyone order anything from there, and I rarely see anyone at the register. When our mall was closed due to COVID lockdown/quarantine, several locally owned stores shut down, and a few places in the food court. Last time I was there was for my birthday in August, and the soup place is still there. My mom and I have an array of theories about what it could be, ranging from money laundering to a front for drugs, but I cannot believe that place is legitimate. This might not be a groundbreaking hot take, but I think that applying for disability status/benefits is intentionally made to be a convoluted mess of bureaucratic jargon and endless hoops to jump through solely so that disabled people don't take advantage of them, either because they give up trying to navigate an intentionally confusing system, or because they make a mistake along the way and the process gets effed up. I'm really lucky I had my mom helping me with a lot of the paperwork, because otherwise I would never be able to get the supports I need in post-secondary. It's like someone purposefully designed the process to be as unobtainable, messy, and overwhelmingly complex for a disabled person as they possibly could. The cardboard rolls that toilet paper are on have gotten wider in diameter over the years. This is one way to make the rolls look bigger, because 6 mega rolls equals 32 normal sized rolls. Deflategate was a distraction from brain damage and domestic abuse scandals in the NFL. And I say this as someone who hates Tom Brady. It should have just been a small fine and forgotten quickly, but this is a type of scandal the NFL can tolerate, whereas brain injuries and domestic abuse can hurt the league's reputation. And it worked. Distraction and news cycle dominated by this for an entire off-season, rather than more serious issues. Similarly, I believe that the emphasis on responding to concussions and the concussion protocol is designed to make people think that the NFL is taking CTE-associated brain injuries seriously, and that the league is also taking appropriate actions to limit brain injury. It is meant to distract from the fact that CTE's most significant root cause is repeated subconcussive impacts, which the NFL is unable to prevent. The government watch us, but not on an individual level. Like they don't read every ML and text you send, is more like they and algorithm that filters of the metadata of the people and use that determine the possible dangers to a zone. Honestly, I find the idea gold isn't at Fort Knox any more believable. In the same vein, I doubt they keep anything important at Area 51 anymore. I bet they keep the sights up, so we don't look anywhere else. Why or how, I don't care enough to think that deep. This is just something I heard that makes sense to me. The conspiracy that created the term conspiracy theory. Think back to the 30s, 40s, 50s. There were stories of the black cars showing up and making people that start finding out too much disappear. Enter the 60s and 70s. Mass media starts growing at a massive rate, a rate at which the government realizes that they cannot ever fully control. Their genius solution is to open the floodgates of crazy, push a bunch of conspiracy theories into the populace that makes real conspiracy reports be ignored as just tinfoil hat crazy. Label all reports as conspiracy theory. This over time creates a societal misunderstanding in the form of the term conspiracy theory becoming equated with crazy. An example of this is I believe that there really aren't many people that truly believe the earth is flat. There are just some entities planted that push it as a theory. This then becomes one of the main examples of all conspiracy theorists are not to be taken seriously. They're trying to get us stuck in perpetual fear apathy so that we don't make plans for our own futures and instead buy things now and fall in line with what agendas they want to push. Dollar slice pizza places. This may not make sense to people who don't live in New York City. We have these great places that sell a plain slice of pizza, cheese only, for $1. I can't believe they make rent and payroll on volume with $1 a slice and the going rent rates. This has to be some sort of money laundering scam. but one where no one cares, because you get a slice of pizza for $1. Might not be the best pizza, but damn, $1 slice, I'll always stop in. If I'm passing one on the street, this just can't be economically feasible and something else is going on. Certain ultra-wealthy rich have slowly politicized the news over the past decades in the way of brainwashing the population into believing their agenda, along with possibly having multiple news channels egg left or right-leaning channels to attract more viewers, so if they don't like one they may go into the other one which they agree more with, additionally increasing the entertainment part of the news and decreasing the "news and educational parts of the news." While I don't actually believe the government is putting stuff in our water that's turning the frogs gay, I do however believe the large amount of urine containing birth control waste getting out into the sewage is becoming an ecological problem. Fun fact, all sorts of drugs excreted in urine are incredibly detrimental to the environment. The eels and clams over in the UK have been getting too much drugs according to scientists. Apparently there's an acceptable level of coke concentration in waterways for animals. Mine is strange and has to do with Grindr, but I've been testing an idea, not a scientist, so I could absolutely be convincing myself it's happening, that I think is actually being implemented on their app. In a nutshell, Grindr tracks which guys get clicked on the most, and then an algorithm, assuming they have one that chooses which profiles you see, will cause an ad to pop up every time you click on said profile. Since attractive guys would supposedly get more attention, it would make sense to trigger an ad to pop up when users click on the popular profiles. The government deliberately works on keeping the populace uneducated, from school funding being tied to local property taxes, to allowing militant religious parties to politicize and censor science-based education. It's easier to manipulate an uneducated society by pitting it against itself across socio-economic and political lines. In the meantime, the civil servants meant to be representing us do favors for the wealthy in return for funding and insider trading privileges. Osama bin Laden wasn't killed the way they said he was, and they kept him alive for interrogation. Doubt he's alive today, but there's no way they'd just chuck the most wanted man in the world over the side of a boat. Bet they interrogated him then killed him, or jailed him, who knows. The Secret Service is also the group in charge of keeping all retired past government officials quiet. It's crazy to think that all of these powerful people don't spill their knowledge at some point before they die. Once they get a certain clearance, then a detailed profile is built of who their family and friends are and somehow passed to them as a keep your mouth shut or things will happen to these people. Whenever a popular congressman voluntarily retires in the middle of their term, I think that they keep learning that they wish they hadn't, and that it's time to just get out. OJ Simpson didn't do it. It was Jason Simpson. The LAPD was so convinced that they had their man that they tried to make the evidence fit the suspect rather than allowing the evidence to lead them to a suspect. OJ didn't do it. Nicole Brown was nearly decapitated, and Ron Goldman was stabbed 20+ times. The prosecution claimed the injuries were consistent with two knives being used and produced a stiletto knife good for stabbing, but not cutting, and a Swiss Army knife not really good for hurting anyone other than yourself. Ron Goldman had numerous offensive wounds, and the injuries to his hands indicated that he had landed numerous blows, yet OJ had only a small cut on his hand with no other evidence of having been in a fight. The only evidence found in OJ's home was a few drops of his own blood which were contaminated with a preservative used in blood draws. Jason did it. Memes. Jason was employed as a sous chef and had his own knife set, and also owned a double-edged combat knife from his time in a military school. Motive: Jason was cooking alone at his restaurant that night and had specifically invited Nicole to come see him cook. She stood him up and went to Mezzaluna where Ron Goldman worked. Jason was known to be bothered by Nicole seeing men other than his father. Opportunity: Jason's time card that night was handwritten for a time much later than when the restaurant shut down. His alibi changed multiple times, but the last time anyone can definitely account for him is around 9:30 that night. The kicker: the day after the murders, OJ retained one of LA's top criminal defense attorneys for Jason and did not hire his own defense attorney until several days later.